Welcome back to SBR Forum videos. The AFC North is currently on hold right now as we await the appeals process for Tom Brady's 4-game suspension. Will it be reduced? Will it not be reduced? We really don't know right now, as the two sides have been back-channeling for nearly a month now after the appeal came down in late June. Will the suspension be reduced? I think it will. However, if it's not, I think we could see this drawn out even further and potentially into the season. If it is drawn out into the season, the NFLPA could potentially file a temporary restraining order against the league, which would allow Tom Brady, of course, to play during the season while the legal process plays its way out. But that could go on for years, basically, if we've looked at past appeals process that have gone to the legal side of things in the NFL. So who knows what's going on with Roger Goodell and the NFLPA negotiating this suspension, but we likely won't know something until later towards training camp at the very earliest. Patriots are still minus 150 to win this division. However, really can't bet anybody on this division here until we figure out what's going on with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. Coming in next is the Miami Dolphins, coming in at 4-1 to win the AFC East this season. Now, the Dolphins are really in a make-or-break year for both head coach Joe Philbin and quarterback Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill did improve a little bit last season, so things may be a little bit more safe for him this season. He went for over 4,000 yards last season, threw 27 touchdowns and only 12 interceptions. So things are looking up for Ryan Tannehill. However, Joe Philbin, entering his 4th year as a Miami Dolphins head coach, hasn't made the playoffs in any of those 3 years, and of course famously collapsed the last 2 years down the stretch of the season, especially 2013, losing their last 2 games after the playoffs were basically there for the taking, and last year losing 3 of their final 4 games. If Philbin doesn't get this team into the playoffs this season, I have a feeling that he could be very well fired at the end of the season, as he has, of course, not been better than 8-8 in his 3 years in Miami. Next up is the Buffalo Bills, coming in at plus 425. The hiring of Rex Ryan has really bumped them up the future odds. However, they're, of course, dealing with a quarterback battle. Outside of that, this team looks pretty good. If they can get this quarterback situation solved, whether it be A.J. Manuel coming back, whether it be Matt Castle coming in, or even Tyrod Taylor, who's been kind of a dark horse selection by some people to make the starting quarterback job here in Buffalo, things could be very interesting of whether or not the Bills could potentially be a sleeper team, not only in this division maybe, but in the entire AFC, potentially locking into one of those wild card spots, assuming that the New England Patriots make the playoffs and win this division. And finally, the New York Jets come in at plus 750, 7.5 to 1 to win the division here. Probably not a bet you're willing to take here from Bovada Sportsbook. However, I think they might be just slightly undervalued at plus 750. Of course, their defense is still going to be one of the best units in the entire NFL. They brought in Darrelle Revis and Antonio Cromartie's back. Of course, Screen is also in the mix here in the cornerback situation. So defense likely going to be good. It really all revolves now around Geno Smith and whether or not he can have a make-or-break year this year. He was actually pretty solid taking a look at his stats here in the last 4 weeks of the regular season. Although he threw 25 touchdowns and 34 interceptions on the year, his last 4 games he was solid. He threw 6 touchdowns, limited to only 2 interceptions. So if Geno Smith can show the Geno Smith that we saw in the final 4 weeks of last season, I think the Jets might actually be a sleeper team as well. Maybe not to win the division, but potentially to disrupt some people, get to maybe 7-9, 8-8 this season, potentially have a very good year in considering to the last couple here in New York. But that'll do it for me this time. Make sure you check out a couple of our other division previews here. But for SBR Forum videos, I'm Jordan Sharp.